Maritime security is an umbrella concept used to classify four concepts: marine security, human security, economic development, and the marine environment. So if I broke down each concept, marine security would be related to things such as vessels at sea, ensuring that persons are doing what they need to do while they're at sea, abiding by the laws of whichever territorial waters they're in. Human security relates to things such as SOLAS, which is safety of lives at sea, and SARS, search and rescue situations. Oftentimes we find that vessels go to sea, fishing vessels go into sea, get into difficulty, and then we send the boats to assist them. Economic development, in the sense that we know that we're moving forward with the blue economy, and with that comes issues such as drilling, offshore wells, and so as Coast Guard, we have an issue, a duty of care to ensure that these things are in accordance with the environmental laws of the country. A marine environment relates to issues such as overfishing or illegal fishing and protecting the marine areas. Maritime security is important because of the threats that exist. So I would have mentioned illegal fishing. At present, there's an issue with vessels which are not a part of our country, that foreign vessels coming into our waters and overfishing. That also obviously has implications for the economics of the country, because it means that there are less fishing available for the fishing community. Threats such as human smuggling. We have issues with people trying to leave their countries because of issues in terms of finding jobs or what's not. So they smuggle themselves out of one country into another country in search of a better life. We also have issues in terms of people smuggling illegal drugs, guns, ammunition. And so, of course, that has implications in terms of issues that may very well topple the socio-economic climate of a particular country.
We usually have maritime partnerships with all of our RSS member states, which are St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Grenada, and Dominica. However, most of our fishermen, they usually fish close to Grenada. So usually when they break down, they either drift to Grenada or Trinidad. And we also have relations with Trinidad as well as it relates to the fishermen, because the vessel might be closer to Trinidad than it is to Barbados. So we usually ask for help from Trinidad to actually conduct the search and rescue of the vessels. That relationship is very good. You be usually, even something as simple as if there is a vessel that is late from Trinidad, they will send information to Barbados and ask us to conduct searches for whether it be a port and harbor check, or if while we are on patrol, that if we see the vessel, let them know. If not for these maritime partnerships, I can say a lot of fishermen would be lost, because it's not always that the Barbados Coast Guard is able to assist due to mechanical issues to the vessels, or we may be engaged in other operations at the point of time. SARS is actually search and rescue. And basically that is whereas we go out and we look for fishermen who are in distress. So how that process goes, we will receive a call in the operations center. That information now will come to the ship. Once the information is received on the ship, we receive information such as the GPS position. We will put the GPS position on the chart and we will plot it so we can know what is the distance we have to go to receive these fishermen. In preparing for the search and rescue, or SAR, we would actually prepare the deck in terms of preparing the bridle and the tow line to receive the tow. Once we are on location of where the search and rescue is, we would actually make communications with them to inform them that we are preparing to pass the tow line. Once that is done, we will receive the tow and we would proceed on our way back to Barbados and ensure that while we are on route to Barbados, that the fishermen on board the vessel are actually okay. There is no persons injured, nobody has a medical issue, because usually if they have a medical issue, the priority would actually be to remove the person from the vessel and get them back to Barbados as fast as possible in that situation. I would say, as it relates to search and rescue, it's also tedious because sometimes the fishermen give the wrong position. And it has happened already, where we receive information that the ship was at one position because the fishermen couldn't read the GPS properly. And then halfway through the journey, we receive information that the vessel is not actually there, that is at another location. Then we have to change course and head to that position. to actually do the search, carry out the search and rescue. As it relates to search and rescue and the maritime partnerships, we will build relationships with those countries that I had mentioned previously. And if they see something that they cannot go to, they will call us. So actually, in relation to the security aspect, we could receive information from that aspect to help strengthen our security borders. So even a couple of years back, if I remember correctly, there was a vessel where some terrorists were supposed to be on this vessel, and that information came through our partnerships. And we were able to patrol to cause that situation not to come to Barbados.
Let me begin preparations. It's hurricane season. Let me sit down and reason. Let me secure a nation. Know your shelters, Bajan. Help out one another against vibration. Develop emergency community plans so that we could function. Remove outdoor objects. Make sure that you went to the ATM. Stock up with water. Make sure you clean the guttering, Lord. What about canned food? Make sure you got some stock up in your room. Make sure you prop up the paling and tie down the roof. Let me start to prepare real soon. Let me begin preparations. It's hurricane season. Let me sit down and reason. Let me secure a nation. Know your shelters, Bajan. Help out one another against vibration. Develop emergency community plans so that we could function.
Right, wide, and left. Quick, move.
As it relates to hurricane response, or HADR, which is Humanitarian Assistance for Disaster Relief, the Barbados Coast Guard role is to basically take humanitarian disaster relief to other countries, mainly members of the RSS, or the Regional Security System. The most recent we would have done would have been 2017 in Dominica after Hurricane Maria, where we took a number of aid to Dominica and also removed persons from Dominica and brought them back to Barbados or St. Lucia, where they then went to their various countries. Well, first, in that kind of operation, there is a lot of calls coming out from the neighboring island or the affected island, whereas they would speak to the Prime Minister, and that message would come from then go to the Chief of Staff, whereas he would give orders for us to go and assist these other countries that have been affected. Here, we would take persons to provide security. We would also do rescues as well, if needed. As such, in 2015, where we assisted Dominica there after they were struck by tropical storm. We actually had to remove persons from one part of the island to the other part because they couldn't get from where they were at the point of time. So it's a bit kind of hectic, to be honest. It's a lot of work. Sailing from Barbados to Dominica usually takes anywhere about 12 hours. So that's at least half a day. And we'll be doing anywhere between 12 to 15 knots to actually get to Dominica. As it relates for the ship, well, let me start at the base first. Usually on the base, we would have hurricane exercises. So we test all aspects of the hurricane exercise, our persons, and the ability for persons to operate. So usually we have, whereas persons will go and do route clearing and rescue. So all of that is tested on the base at first before we actually do any rescue to person. That is also tested yearly. So before hurricane season, we do that testing, and then we are prepared to do the actual event if it actually occurs. Outside of that, on the ship itself, we don't usually have hurricane equipment stored on the ship. The equipment that they will have will be chainsaws, crowbars, flashlights, lines, harnesses in case they have to lift persons, as well as block and tackles. Also in the training that I forgot to mention, we do first aid training as well as part of the hurricane training. This would allow persons to actually be able to assist persons if they're injured in their capacity while they're doing their job, or if they need to provide first aid to persons within the country that may be injured. It is very taxing on the body, especially, I can speak from experience from Dominica 2017, because when we did that, the turnaround time was 12 hours. So we would go, drop off supplies, move persons, come back to Barbados, and within 12 hours, we would be gone from Barbados again. So it was quite a fast turnaround time. So if we got to Dominica, say at 6 o'clock in the morning, we will leave Dominica at 6 o'clock the night time to get back to Barbados for 6 o'clock the following morning and leave Barbados 6 o'clock the same night to get back to Dominica for 6 o'clock the following morning. So it was a 24 to 12 hour turnaround time. And being at sea is very taxing, moving all that equipment, because we would have loaded the ships here in Barbados to take down the equipment or the necessities that persons needed in Dominica. And then once we got there, we had to offload them. So usually the crew would have done that part as well.
The ensign is the unit's flag. Years ago, when opposing forces would do battle, they would take their flag into battle, their embroidered flag. And this would serve to identify the unit, because as the heated battle gets going, a person could easily get disoriented. And it also serves as a rallying point. We don't do those type of battles anymore. However, the flag remains, and it serves as a symbol of loyalty, honor, and devotion to the unit. The ensign under the monarchy was essentially a St. George's Cross with the Barbados flag in Canton. The St. George's Cross, which was an old English national flag, is a red cross on a white background. And this was presented by His Royal Highness Prince Charles on Tuesday, 19th of March, 2019. All right, the ensign of the Republic now carries the presidential crest in the center of the St. John's Cross. And it has the words Barbados Coast Guard encircled in gold trim. So the ensign, when we served under the monarchy, was a St. George's Cross with the Barbados flag in Canton. And in essence, this was a white background with a red cross with the Barbados flag in the upper left quadrant, which is to the hoist or near to the flagpole. And that served as, and the significance of that was to show loyalty to the British monarchy. Okay, the current ensign, now that we've moved to the status of republic, carries the presidential crest in the center of the St. George's Cross. It also carries the words Barbados Coast Guard to signify the unit encircled around the crest. And it's not what we see flying here today, but it is presented once we have any formal parades.
Let me begin preparations. It's hurricane season. Let me sit down and reason. Let me secure a nation. Know your shelters, Bajan. Help out one another against vibration. Develop emergency community plans so that we could function. Remove outdoor objects. Make sure that you went to the ATM. Stock up with water. Make sure you clean the guttering lot. What about canned food? Make sure you got some stock up in your room. Make sure you prop up the paling and tie down the roof. Let me start to prepare real soon. Let me begin preparations. It's hurricane season. Let me sit down and reason. Let me secure a nation. Know your shelters, Bajan. Help out one another against vibration. Develop emergency community plans so that we could function.
Right, wide, and left. Quick, march.
The colors of a particular regiment represents the spirit, the soul, and the esprit de corps of that military unit. Colors are carried at various points in times. In most instances for parades, very important parades, we had colors, or we would normally see the colors of a regiment, and may I say the Barbados Regiment. You will see those colors being carried on the Independence Day parade, the Remembrance Day parade, and if there's a state funeral. The other instances which you may find these colors being carried is if there's a visiting dignitary or head of state, which on arrival at the airport might have to be welcomed to our shores by a guard of honor. And if that guard of honor comprises men of the Barbados Regiment, then the regimental colors will be carried. Now, you must note that there is a distinction in relation to the colors. There, in the past, you would normally hear about the Queen's color and the regimental color. With Barbados becoming a republic, you now have the presidential color and the regimental color of the Barbados Regiment. The Barbados Regiment colors then, if you note, the Queen's color in the past was carried only when the Queen's representative, who was the Governor General, was on parade, or her representative was on parade. Good? So as a result, you would see both colors on parade. In the instance that the sovereign or the head of state or his or her representative is not at the occasion or the event, you will only see the regimental color. And the regimental color is the color of the regiment. It belongs to the regiment. The presidential color or the Queen's color, as it were, in the past, was the color given to the state or the nation, and it represents the sovereign over that state. So the other instances which you would find the colors being carried, and it is extremely important at this stage, is the trooping of the color. The trooping of the color or colors represents a very solemn ceremony or parade, whereas the colors are carried in the lines or within the ranks to ensure that each and every person, because this is a tradition also, to ensure that each and every soldier, each and every member of the regiment gets a chance to see that the colors of the regiment remain intact. And that is due to the fact that colors were actually carried into war and various conflicts. And when they were carried, they may become tattered. And as a result, you would want persons to know that although within conflict they might have been made tattered for one reason or another, they are still intact. And it also symbolizes the fact that the unit remains intact and that the morale and esprit de corps is likewise intact. The color etiquette and carrying of the colors. Now, there are specific rituals related to how the colors are treated because of their meaning and significance. The fact that we recognize that the spirits and the esprit de corps, the soul of the men within that regiment, is embodied within those colors, means that we just don't treat them like any other flag. There's particular ceremony, respect, reverence that are paid when we are going to handle the colors, even when we are going to clean them. We must have on headdress at all points in times when we are dealing with the colors or handling them or even cleaning them. And we must pay the appropriate compliment even before we uncase the colors. And when they are being uncased, it is normally done out of the view of the general public, because once these colors arrive onto the parade ground or into a particular space where a ceremony is being conducted, the reverence for the colors must be maintained at all times. You wouldn't want to see the colors at an angle or lying on one's shoulders, etc. And those are the particular rituals that we must undertake to ensure that the colors are afforded the dignity and the respect for which they justly deserve. In relation to the carrying of the colors, whereas you're taking them on parade, the ensigns for those colors must ensure that they're both physically and mentally fit to carry the colors. Each and every ensign must know and will know the significance of the colors. When the colors are being carried, we are more than careful to ensure that these colors do not drop or fall on the ground. As a result, in fact, in addition to that, that no one takes the colors away from you, because it is a severe embarrassment for your colors to be taken away from you. And in that respect, there is always an escort which accompanies or which is part of the color party. So the escorts accompany the ensigns who are carrying the colors, and they are armed to the teeth to ensure that the colors are not wrestled away from the ensigns. The color also signifies what in the military we call the core values. And the core values, things like honesty, integrity, truthfulness, commitment to duty, selfless service, and such like. It ties up those notions, especially within the military ethos. And in the military ethos, and symbolizing all of these virtues, it is important to those who will continue to serve and those who will serve at some point in time. And most importantly, recognizing the sacrifice that those who have served has made to the regiment in the name of their country.